So I love to read this book to the class because I think it's such an inspirational book that talks to kids about the future and the world they're inheriting and is really hopeful. It's called Of the I Sing. It's written by our ex-president, Barack Obama, and it's called A Letter to My Daughters. And there are his daughters and his dog, the official White House dog at that time. As I'm reading this to you, I'd like you to think about what it means to feel patriotic, to feel proud of your country. What does that mean and how do you show that? Have I told you lately how wonderful you are, how the sound of your feet running from afar brings dancing rhythms to my day? How you laugh and sunshine spills into the room. Have I told you that you are creative? And we're going to have a chance to be really creative on Thursday on our Global Play Day. A woman named Georgia O'Keeffe moved to the desert and painted petals, bone, bark. She helps us to see big beauty in what is small, the hardness of stone and the softness of feather. Have I told you that you are smart? Have I told you guys that you are smart? You guys are amazing. That you braid great ideas with imagination. A man named Albert Einstein turned pictures in his mind into giant advances in science, changing the world with energy and light. Love that. Have I told you that you are brave? A man named Jackie Robinson played baseball and showed us all how to turn fear to respect and respect to love. He swung his bat with the grace and strength of a lion and gave brave dreams to other dreamers. And up until Jackie Robinson played, they did not allow people with black skin to play in the Major League Baseball leagues. Jackie Robinson was the first one, and people, I don't know if you see their faces in the background, but people were not nice to him. They spit on him, they called him all sorts of awful names, and he was an amazing player and he just wanted to play baseball. So really interesting to read about Jackie Robinson and how brave he was. Have I told you that you are a healer? Sitting Bull was a Sioux medicine man who healed broken hearts and broken promises. It is fine that we are different, he said. For peace, it is not necessary for eagles to be crows. Though he was put in prison, his spirit soared free on the plains and his wisdom touched the generations. So he's talking about a famous Native American leader. Have I told you that you have your own song? A woman named Billie Holiday wore a gardenia in her hair and sang beautiful blues songs to the world. Her voice, full of sadness and joy, made people feel deeply and add their melodies to the chorus. Talking about a lot of people who broke what we call the color barrier. Have I told you that you are strong? A woman named Helen Keller fought her way through long, silent darkness. Though she could not see or hear, she taught us to look at and listen to each other, never waiting for life to get easier. She gave others courage to face their challenges. I don't know if you've read about Helen Keller, but she was really an inspiration too. When we think about equity, when we think about people having access to things, I think sometimes we only think of African Americans, but really he's talking about Native Americans, handicapped people, all sorts of groups of people who we marginalize, who don't get to be the center of the story. Have I told you how important it is to honor other people's sacrifices? A woman named Maya Lin designed the Vietnam Veterans Memorial to remember those who gave their lives in the war, and the Civil Rights Memorial to thank the many who fought for equality. Public spaces should be filled with art, she thought, so that we can walk amidst it, recalling the past and inspired to fix the future. And actually, we have a Vietnam Memorial. It's up by the zoo. If you ever want to visit it, it's open to the public and you can go, and it has the names inscribed of the people from Oregon who died in the Vietnam War. And then also Maya Lin designed a bunch of art projects along the Columbia River to celebrate Lewis and Clark's journey. So you can go look at those too. They're open to the public. Have I told you that you are kind? A woman named Jane Addams fed the poor and helped them find jobs. She opened doors and gave people hope. She taught adults and invited children to play and laugh and let their spirits grow wide. Have I told you that you don't give up? And I've seen that in all of you this year. Really proud of the hard work you're doing. When violence erupted in our nation, a man named Martin Luther King Jr. taught us unyielding compassion. He gave us a dream that all races and creeds would walk hand in hand. He marched and he prayed, and one at a time opened hearts and saw the birth of his dream in us. Have I told you that you are an explorer? A man named Neil Armstrong was the first to walk on the moon. He watched the world from way up high, and we watched his lunar landing leaps, which made us brave enough to take our own big, bold strides. And I just learned last week that in a couple of weeks, we have sent a spaceship to Mars that's going to land this amazing lunar vehicle. It'll be like the most amazing landing ever if it works. But it's really far away. And think about your remote control toys that you use. You know how they sometimes don't work? Think about trying to do a remote control vehicle, because there's no people on this spaceship. It's an automated spaceship, and it's going to go to Mars, and then it's supposed to go through the atmosphere, and then it has to slow down from something like 20,000 miles an hour down to slow enough that this vehicle can drop without braking. So we'll see if we can watch that when that comes up. Have I told you that you are inspiring? A man named Cesar Chavez showed farm workers their own power when he felt they had none. The people were poor but worked hard and loved the land. Cesar picketed, prayed, and talked. The people listened to their hearts and marched for their rights. Si se puede, Cesar said. Yes, you can. And we have a street in Portland named after him, the Cesar Chavez Boulevard on the east side. Have I told you that you are part of a family? Your family, the Beaverton family, the Flex family, and our classroom family. A man named Abraham Lincoln knew that all America should work together. He kept our nation one and promised freedom to enslaved sisters and brothers. This man of the people, simple and plain, asked more of our country, that we behave like kin or family. Have I told you to be proud to be American? Our first president, George Washington, believed in liberty and justice for all. His barefoot soldiers crossed wintry rivers, forging ever on. He helped make an idea into a new country, strong and true, a country of principles, a country of citizens. And that is true that during the Revolutionary War, when we were fighting to break free of England and the tyranny and having to pay taxes and not having any representation, you can see their clothes are tattered. And a lot of the people, their shoes wore out and their feet were freezing. It was a kind of a hard, horrible war.
Didn't they go to the Valley Forge?
Yeah. Have I told you that America is made up of people of every kind? People of all races, religions, and beliefs, people from coastlines and the mountains, people who have made bright light shine by sharing their unique gifts and giving us the courage to lift one another up, to keep up the fight, to work and build upon all that is good in our nation. And that is what I know you guys are going to do, is build on what is good in our nation and make this an even stronger nation. Have I told you that they are all part of you? Have I told you that you are one of them and that you are the future? And have I told you that I love you? And so that's the end of his book to his daughters. And then the back of the book has got information on all these characters that he just introduced you to, all these famous people. So that was written by Barack Obama to his daughters. And again, I asked you while I was reading that to think about what being patriotic means to you. What does it mean to be patriotic and to love your country? What do you think? Is there anybody who'd be willing to share what they think? Adrienne, go ahead.
I think that kind of it means like you have to be able to like know that you're from the country. If you just go around and you're just like blah 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 blah. This is just a random country. It's nothing special. Then you're just gonna forget that like you're part of a really cool nation. You're part of something. You're part of something awesome. And so like if you just and so you kind of have to embrace that and learn more about your nation so you can be like, oh, this is what this is like. Maybe I should pay more attention to it in the future.
Nice. Clara?
I would like to build on to Adrian's, like kind of like you need to be able to learn and like embrace where you're from and your nation and like help it move forward and like fix mistakes and just like know you're part of this community and you're, you know.
Nice. I saw some other hands raised, but I don't see them up right now. Is there anyone else who wanted to talk? Emily, go ahead, hon.
I'm also going to agree with Clara and Adrian, because if you just walk around saying that you're part of something when you actually don't know that much, if somebody's like, oh cool, so you know what this is, if you want to go here, you have no clue what that is and you don't know if it's a big part of your nation.
Do you think that's awesome, you guys? I think those are really great thoughts. Does anybody out there feel like being patriotic means you can never say anything bad about your country? Like if you say something bad, is that not patriotic? Are we allowed to criticize this nation? Are we allowed to say what we think is wrong in this country? Haven, you're nodding yes. Do you want to talk?
Yeah, so it's the freedom of speech, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So.
I was talking to my husband about it. There was somebody on the news saying some really terrible things. And I said, why can't they like pass a law that she can't say those things? And he said, well, they do that in other countries, but it goes really bad because then who's to decide what you can and can't say? So one of the big things in this nation is freedom of speech. That means freedom of really wonderful speech, but also freedom for people to say some bad things. What do you guys think about that?
In order to get good things, you need to know the bad things. So.
Yeah, and then it's up to you to decide. Nobody's going to tell you what's the real information and what's not. You're going to have to think about it yourself. All right, Em, one last comment. Go ahead.
I have something that I noticed in the book, and it's a little funny. I noticed when it was the Abraham Lincoln page, he had a beard, and there's actually a really cool fact that he didn't have a beard.
Really?
He was running, but then a little girl, I think her name was Amy, wrote a letter to him saying that she thought that he would win more easily if he had a beard, so he grew a beard.
Oh, really? That's so interesting. I love those facts. Thank you, Em.